Thank you for listening to the Golden Hour Drip podcast with me, Logan Lee Miller. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Golden Hour Drip podcast. I'm your host, Logan Lee Miller. I just had my second coffee and I'm like, okay, the caffeine is actually hitting. I've been doing this thing because, it's winter, it's Christmas season. I have the need to make sure that cinnamon and chai, like the spices, the warming spices, are everywhere. And what I'm cooking, what I'm drinking. And so my coffee, I've been doing the freeze-dried coffee. Absolutely love it. A little bit of water, a scoop of my freeze-dried coffee. And then I put a little bit of chai tea in it. So it's the Tazo, like already made chai tea. I put a little splash in there as well. Blend it up, fill it with some milk. It's caffeine on caffeine. Okay, it's coffee caffeine and then some chai tea caffeine. And it was also my second one today. So I need to get some stuff done though. Like this week has been amazing. It's been so great. But I have had a lot on my plate asking wise. So I serve on a couple of committees, and during this time of year, a lot of people ask for donations, especially for a non-for-profit. And on top of that, it's also the holidays, and people, the work that I do, I pair clients and individuals up. And so I coordinate people's schedules, and when someone calls in, I try to find a substitution. And today's episode is about asking for what you need. Because if you're anything like me, you hate asking people for things. I can do it myself. I will figure it out. I am resourceful. I am scrappy. I know how to get what I want by my own results. It is extremely hard for me to ask someone else for help. Even the people who are the closest to me, right? Like my mom, my dad, my husband. It is so hard sometimes for me to ask for help. I'd rather just do it myself. I'd rather, instead of trying to explain it to you, I can produce results faster. And so I pile things on my plate and I'm like, I can do this, I can do that. No worries, let me handle that. I like to take care of the people I love, and I don't want to burden them with my stuff because we all have stuff going on. We all have things that we have to do, deliverables that we have to meet. And so I just want to make sure that everyone is living their best life. I want to make sure that they're managing their stress well. And more often than not, and I've gotten extremely better at this, but my needs would be put to the wayside. I would, try to squeeze in the things that I needed to get done during different times. I would stay up super late, I would get up super early, I would try to make it all work. I would be doing too much. And asking for what you need is important. And you should feel like you can ask the people who love you for what you need. But it even goes further than that. You should be able to ask for what you need in a workplace or at school or with a friend, because our needs are important. There is a reason that we need those things, whether it's emotionally, physically, mentally, any of those things. And I would wait days to ask someone for something. I would try to figure it out myself, or I would rationalize things, or even if there was a problem in the workplace or whatever, first I would try to solve it myself. If I couldn't solve it myself, then I would try to work up the nerve to ask for help. And sometimes it was met with positivity, right? Like my boss would be like, oh yeah, no worries. I can see that you're struggling. Let me give you some support. Let me give you some resources. But there's been other times where instead of being met with resources because I am struggling with this thing, I was met with, is it really that big of a deal? My feelings would be minimized, or, the problems that I've been having would be like, oh, like, I don't really think that should be a priority right now to help you with this area. Maybe if we have more in the budget. Or sometimes it would be like, well, I'm more stressed than you are. I need to worry about my own things. This was not all the time, but sometimes, right? Maybe you've experienced this with a boss or a teacher or a parent, to where you felt like your voice was not being heard. And when you asked for something, they dismissed you. Or maybe they didn't have the tools to actually help you, or they had too much on their plate and they didn't know how to allot time to help you, right? And that is completely on their journey. It is not that they're a bad person, it's nothing like that. But when you have a situation like that, you can feel like oh my gosh, like I've been struggling with this for weeks. I finally work up the courage to tell you and it's dismissed. My needs aren't important, or this is what I get, right? This is what I get for trying to ask for help. In the future, I'll just do it myself, right? Because we can feel worse after this, where it's like, oh crap, like I shouldn't have asked. And if you do have a person in your life like this who minimizes what you need, and they're like, oh, Logan, like, come on, like you are a burden, or this is not important or anything like that, I would seriously consider looking for a new job, looking for a new partner, trying a new school, distancing yourself from a parent, because your needs are important. And I know that you would not bring it up if it wasn't needed, if it wasn't important, if it wasn't something that was dire to your success. So there's been times where I have felt just so insecure about asking for help, or where I have asked someone for help and they're like, yes, of course I'll help you, and then they don't follow through, or they make it worse. Class projects, or friends helping me with something, they have the best intentions, but sometimes it's the quality isn't there, and maybe that is me putting too much emphasis on it being perfect. That might be like a control mechanism that I need to work on. I get it. Hey, I'm working on myself, I promise. But with all of this and all the experiences I've had, it can be really tough for me to ask for help. I've always felt like I could do it better. And maybe that's being an older sibling. Maybe that is just being very cognitively aware of myself. But I have always been able to do it. And hey, I hope that you're enjoying today's podcast episode. Just a quick interruption to let you know that Golden Hour Drip has a weekly newsletter that comes out. This has bonus content, weekly updates, and future event information. If you haven't already, go down to the show notes, click the link, and join today. Now, back to the show. When I actually have to ask someone for something, whether I am asking for money for my nonprofit organization during the holidays, or I'm asking for a fill-in at work, whenever I am relying on someone else to say yes, it's an uncomfortable situation, right? Like, I want my situation to be made easier, and getting a yes from this person will help me accomplish that. And whenever you have a dream or a vision, asking someone to support you, asking someone for their money, asking someone for a repost on social media, that's all hard, because you are relying on someone else for your success or for your happiness or whatever. So this past week, I had a couple not declines, not no-shows, a couple cancellations. I had a couple people cancel. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I now have to find a fill-in for multiple clients. And during the holidays, everyone's schedule is packed. Everyone has stuff to do. And after Thanksgiving, some people were sick, some people just need a personal day after the holidays, or one thing after another. Like, it all came up. We all have stuff to do. And I was like, all right, my job is not to say, oh, do you actually need this off day? No, I would never say that. My job is, you need the day off, I'm giving you the day off. You need to cancel this client, I will find a replacement. That's me. So I say, okay. And I have to now call people and beg them, not really, but I say, hey, like, I need to fill in today. Is there any way I can help rearrange your clients? Is there any way that I can have you, pick this client up? I will do anything for them to pick up this client, because this client is either elderly or they have special needs or they're disabled and they need someone to come into their home. And so it's imperative that I find a replacement. And this actually, the past couple, probably 3 weeks, I will say, I have been asking a caregiver who only cares for one, I'm gonna get emotional, oh my gosh. I have a caregiver who it just has one client every single day, and it's a family member. She does not do any other clients. And she had filled in for me one time. And when someone says yes to me, right, like it was an easy yes, you're automatically gonna want to go to that person again, right? Like they didn't make you feel bad. They didn't make you feel anxious or anything. So I called this woman again and again, and she would pick them up when she could. She was like, yes, like I can do this. And she came into the office and I was having a discussion with her, and I just said, thank you. Like, thank you so much for making my job easier, because I didn't have to stress. Like, every time I called you, you weren't going to make me feel bad. You weren't going to, make it a big deal. You helped when you could. And I just appreciate it. I said, thank you. Like, I was so thankful for this woman. And she said, no, it's actually great. I had prayed and I asked God to increase my salary. And so this is a perfect alignment. Like, you asked me to pick up these other jobs. And so then I was, my paycheck was more. And I was like, oh my gosh, because there were some days where I would feel bad calling her and saying, hey, like, you're great. Can I get another fill-in? Can you please help me? I know that you don't have other clients. I know that you're just caring for this family member, but please, like, I would ask. And then come to find out, she had put it into the universe. She had prayed. She was like, God, increase my income this month, because she needed it for whatever. And sometimes when we have to ask for something, having the courage to ask, right? Like, I could have not asked. I could have not done my job well. I could have been like, oh, sorry, called the client, said, we don't have anybody for you. Sorry, good luck. But instead I got uncomfortable. It's part of my job. Okay, I get it. It's my job. But how many times do we get a job and we might not do it to the best of our ability because we're nervous about something, or we have to ask someone? So I called, I asked, and that was the question she needed. She needed me to ask her to pick up a client because she needed more income. How many times are we waiting for someone to ask us something, ask for what they need, and it was an answer, a question as an answer to what we had been hoping for? And it just clicked for me. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I would have been doing a disservice to this woman if I didn't call her. Even if I, ask someone else and they give me, a bad response, in comparison to, it doesn't matter. I still have to ask. You never know when someone is going to say yes, or you never know when someone is going to need that income. For my non-for-profit, it's happened literally like a day or two later. I was at an open house event, and I met with, I was getting coffee at this open house, and I saw someone that I haven't seen in a very long time. I'm talking months. And I was so happy to see her. I was like, oh my gosh. She had recently just purchased a business. And I asked her how it was going. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I haven't talked to you for a while. How's everything going? It's probably been 4 or 5 months. I had congratulated her when she told me about the business that she was purchasing, but I hadn't talked to her about it afterwards. I was like, how's it going? Like, and she was like, oh, it's going so good. This is a little bit not, this is good. We were chatting, we were catching up. And I remembered that she was actually on my list of businesses that I need to reach out for funding for my committee. And I was like, oh gosh, I'm so glad that I ran into you. I just remembered I actually need to talk to you about our fundraising event that's coming up. And again, I'm asking a new business owner, a small business owner, for funds, right? Like, yes, it's for a good cause, but during the holidays, everybody is asking you for money and you have so much going on. And I was like, oh, by the way, and you could told me no, because she is a friend. I was like, we are doing this fundraiser for, the committee. We would love to have your support, but I understand, like, if you don't feel established yet. And she goes, oh my gosh, I would love to. I've been actually looking to get connected with that non-for-profit. And I was like, you are kidding me. And she's like, yes, like, I've seen it, I love the events that you guys throw. And I'm like, again, it is showing me that when you ask someone for something, you could be answering what they needed. And it's these loose ties and these loose connections that actually give so much strength. And when you open yourself up and when you chat with people, and I don't mean, oh my gosh, you should ask everyone for everything, like just take. No, but sometimes when you ask someone, if you have enough benefit that you're giving them, right? Like donating to a non-for-profit, 1, it can be a tax write-off, 2, you're giving back to the community, and 3, like, you can put your name, it's an advertising situation. Filling in for a client, they're gonna get a paycheck, right? Like, it's this mutually benefiting situation, and if you have enough that you're giving back to someone as well, right? Like, it's not just a take situation, that actually could be exactly what they were looking for. So it's easy to just think you can do it all on your own, but community and connection is the biggest thing in this world. I don't care what job you have, where you are in life, when you can have a friend, when you can have a connection, or even if it's not a close friend, but an associate. Those can be some of the strongest relationships, because if you mention them in a room full of opportunity, when you know that's a good, hardworking person, or your friend who can do that thing too, those are the people you want to surround yourself with. Those are the people who will thank you a million times over in comparison to someone where their heart's not in it. So you have to ask the right people, but when you ask, you never know what good could come out of that conversation. So I was just shown twice this week that although I hate, and I'm getting better at it, to ask for help or to ask for something that I know is aligned with my purpose, that when you ask, it could be exactly what that person is needing, and you are not to judge anyone or where they're at. If you feel like, hey, I need to ask this person something, you never know that you might be put in their life or put in that situation for a reason, and that you should ask, because what's the worst they could say? No. So thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode. I really appreciate getting to hang out with you. If you haven't already, please rate and subscribe to the show. I would really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.